So are we live? I think we are live. Welcome to another live show here on Kings of Anglia. It's me, Roscoe. We've got a special here, looking back at the Ipswich Town 2022-23 season so far. Second in the league at Christmas. Isn't too shabby, is it? Hope you enjoy. I'm going to get you guys involved as much as possible. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to be joined by, of course, Bono, aka Vu from U2, aka Matt. It's going to be a great show. 16 people in so far. Get in the comments down below. As I said, share your thoughts. Good old Harry's ready here. Evening, Harry. Hope you're all doing well. And as I said, share your thoughts in your own words on the season so far. It's been a great campaign so far, of course, under Kieran McKenna and co. Let's bring in the man that is joining me to keep me company this evening, just like you guys joining us on the live stream. Of course, this will be going out later on as well. So if you aren't watching us live, hello to the future people watching this on a Wednesday afternoon, Friday evening. Could be watching this on Christmas Day, because why not? So yeah, let's get right into it then. And let's bring on Bono. Bono, how are you doing, my friend? Great to have you.
Hey, Ross. How you doing, buddy? You well?
I'm very well, my friend. I've seen a comment already from Rodders. Says Ross in his usual timekeeping. Now, Rodders, I'll have to admit, I also was trying to figure out how to go live once again. This is a new thing for us and technology. Even though I'm a young lad, I still need to figure out different buttons. But yeah, here we are. But yeah, Bono, I'm very well. Great to have you on. Yeah.
It's good to be here. This is exciting, isn't it? Live to the world. It kind of feels a little bit like, when NASA or Elon Musk do their live space shuttle launches. I don't think we're going to get like 7 billion people watching, but I'm happy. I'm happy with whoever's here. So thanks for your time, everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully you guys, enjoy these, and we'll try to do more and more of these in 2023. Of course, this is the show where we look back at the season so far, 22 league games. We may mention the cup games, but we all know what happened. We're out the Carabao Cup, whatever it's called these days. We're out the Papa John's Trophy, Peach Trophy, no Wembley in that. But we're still in the FA Cup, though. Of course, we had 2 non-league wins against Buxton and Bracknell Town. But, Bono, it's all about the league, League One. Maddie's in the chat. Hello, Maddie. Hope you're doing well. Always a pleasure to have her at the women's games. She does some great stuff for them and does Instagram and all that stuff. Harry has given us our first little message. But before we get into that, Bono, let's bring up the results of August/July. Of course, we started a campaign in July, which was very weird indeed, but because of the World Cup and all that sort of stuff, it started early. But before we get into that, Bono, I want to just get your pre-season thoughts. What were you thinking going into this season?
Confident. I mean, last year, obviously, we saw the promise of Kieran McKenna, didn't we? Obviously, now we've hit that kind of year in charge and 50 game marker, and it was just excitement. I think we had a fairly decent pre-season. I think as Ipswich fans, we're fairly, once bitten, twice shy, because we've had really decent pre-season before and been absolutely rubbish in the league, haven't we? So I think we were kind of quietly confident, weren't we, Ross?
We were indeed. I was going with my heart straight away. I went, yeah, second in the league, could win the title. Just one of those would be happy days. And at the moment, that's where we are, and we're doing pretty well. Harry said, I'm going to bring up, I know how to work these buttons now, Bono, as well. Look at this. Boom. There's Harry. There you go. I said, I'm good. Wow. If you would tell me in August that will be second league and only 3 losses, I would laugh at you. Yeah, we took that. We'll just take someone's arm off. Just like, give me that. I want to be second. So good little comment there from good old Harry.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk then about July/August and the games. Of course, it started with a 1-1 draw at home with Bolton on the opening day. Of course, Lee Evans scoring. We scored from a set piece, Claxon, straight away in the first game. We struggled to do that in the previous seasons, but Lee Evans went on to score. Nice little set piece from Connor Chaplin for them to combine for that. Then, of course, our first ever trip to Forest Green, their first ever season in League One. We beat a newly promoted side, of course, beating them 2-1. Marcus Harness with his first goal. Then Sam Morsey scored an absolute belter a goal. It was a few nervy moments at the end, but a win there. Quick thoughts, Bono, on those 2 games. Not a too bad game to sort of start with to start the season. Bolton, who are a team that just got promoted the previous season, their second season back in League One, and then Forest Green, their first ever season in League One.
I think we all remember Bolton from last season, don't we? And the fact that they came up and absolutely gave us a good old spanking, as it were. And we knew all about them, didn't we? So I think, we were a little bit careful about them. I think a draw was a fair result in the end. And you mentioned set pieces. We already could see that the players have been doing a bit of work in pre-season, and the corners and the throws just seemed so much better, didn't they? Forest Green was an absolutely fantastic away day. Really, really, really hot, long queues for the concessions. I think we're all half of us were collapsing through dehydration. Remember seeing you running up the side of the pitch, taking photos of the magnificent the full length of the terrace that we're all at, football on top of a hill in a beautiful village in the beautiful countryside. And then the games with MK and Burton and Shrewsbury as well, just absolutely brilliant. And then obviously the last game of the start of the season against Barnsley, I had to miss that one. I wasn't very well that day. Got my hair cut in the morning and then had a migraine. So watched it at home in my bedroom in the dark, I think. But we could already see that the brand of football, the McKenna ball that we've all alluded to, had gone up a little notch, hadn't we? And I think we were very, very unlucky not to win that day against Barnsley, weren't we? That old thing that we've seen since League One, the officiating, that was the talking point that day, wasn't it? The Harness's ruled out goal, and I think we had a Stonewall penalty as well, didn't we? And it was just like, oh man.
Yeah, I wasn't there, unfortunately. I was at a wedding, but I remember just seeing, social media after the wedding and just, seeing it back, and oh dearie me. I want to, of course, say hello to some of the new viewers coming in. Welcome. Nikolai Webb. Nikolai, Bono, is all the way from New York. So we're global, boy. We're global. So Nikolai,
New York, start spreading the news. That's all you're getting. That's all you're getting at this time.
I liked it. Also, Rodders is back in. I'm liking this button now. Just pressing. He's got a nice little dog in his picture. What sort of dog is that? Rodders, let us know. Bono, you love your dog, so do you know breeds?
Ish. I know greyhounds. I've got one sleeping in the corner underneath our Netflix fireplace.
Yes, I like it. That's very. It makes me very warm inside as well. Seeing a bit.
I feel hot. I am a bit hot because I'm in my Ipswich Town Christmas jumper, available now from planetblue.com.
Yes, like it. And I'm liking Bono as well. You're actually typing as we speak because you just put hi Nikolai. How are you doing that? Because I'm very slow.
I've got the live chat in one bit, and I've got us in the other bit. Modern metrosexual modern man.
I like it. You, of course, covered MK Dons, Burton and stuff. I just want to quickly, of course, mention that. Of course, everyone get involved. We've got 25 people in with us. Hope you enjoy and hope this is a great Tuesday evening watch for you. I don't know what else is on. I know there's EFL Cup games and is there soaps these days, EastEnders and stuff. But this is where it's at, innit? Me and Bono chatting about the season so far for Town. But yeah, of course, we were top of the league when we beat MK Dons. A decent MK side last year. Of course, they finished third, but a very different side this year. Of course, Liam Manning's now been sacked. He's gone. And yeah, they're not doing so well. But that was a great afternoon at Portman Road. Burns, Harness, Chaplin scoring the goals. Then the Burton game, I wasn't there. I was actually in Budapest. My first ever trip there. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, while I was there, but we were in Burton, and Harness scored in his third straight game. A tough evening against the side. Of course, this is the first time we saw Gaston Hadby in action, and he was put straight on the recruitment dashboard, and we signed on deadline day eventually, of course. Then the Shrewsbury game, which was a lovely day at Shropshire, a very good win. Of course, the last encounter against them was a 1-1 draw, and they scored a late equaliser, of course. But this time, John Jules scoring a very good goal, Chaplin Jackson scoring in a good performance, and as you mentioned, Bono, the 2-2 draw against Barnsley. But a good start to the season. I was pretty happy with that. But let's get into September then, Bono. And of course, we haven't mentioned Bono, actually. Leif Davis, of course, he didn't have a great debut, did he? But he signed, and I'm sure he had a lot of jet lag.
Good old Leif. I mean, we saw that video of him, didn't we? And he was kind of on the side of the pitch with that gorgeous Geordie accent that he's got, talking about signing for a really big club like Ipswich Town. And then, he was just so knackered, wasn't he? But I think a lot of people's first games for us, a little bit slow, maybe not used to the kind of style of play but I'm sure we'll come on to Leaf, or Leaf as I call him, because what a player he's turned out to be.
Definitely, mate. And we're joined also by Manny's dad, Neil, the Diamonds, Neil Reader. What a man he is. Hope you're doing well, Neil, who both Maddie and Neil sorted me out with looking after my stall. They had to take my stall away because I was just being lazy and they need to look after it. So thank you both for doing that. Let's get into September then, Bono. Of course, a month where there were some tough games going into this. After a good start to the season, we had some tough games. Of course, starting off with Accrington away, which was the first sort of monkey off the back.
The bogey side.
The bogey side to the Wham Stadium. Andy Holt and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, 2-0 win. Impact subs. Kane Jackson, Wes Burns, but not Kane Jackson, sorry. Connor Chaplin scored the goal. And then Wes Burns / Freddie Ladapo. A lot of people were trying to claim that. Connor Chaplin, it is one of those. Of course, then a 2-0 home win over Bristol Rovers. Joey Barton, of course, another newly promoted side, beating them. So happy days. Then the 2-2 draw away at Sheffield Wednesday. Tooling up. Great day at Hillsborough. And then we all know what happened. And then Sky. Bloody Sky. Moving it to a Sunday. And then losing on Sky 2-1 in Devon. Bono, September, mixed results, but still not doing too bad.
We played some really, really nice football in September, didn't we? We kind of carried on what we started in July / August, and it still feels odd, doesn't it, talking about a season starting in July because of this, well, what turned out to be an absolutely cracking World Cup, didn't it? Should we start with the defeat? Let's get the bad news out the way. You know what? We played really, really well that day, and I think we were in the lead until, the 75th minute or something like that? I mean, they scored 2 goals in quick succession, and we looked good that day. But ultimately, they beat us. I think they were the first team to really lay a glove on us, weren't they, this season? And we went there. We showed our intentions. We battled hard. I remember seeing some of those Morsey tackles, and it was like, oh my god, somebody's going to get really, really hurt. But it's all controlled. It's all professional. And captain's performance that day, and ultimately Walton was beaten by 2 really, really good goals. Was they scored a long range one? Was it Morgan Whittaker?
Yeah,
that scored one. Was absolutely. I mean, we lost pretty much to a goal of the season contender, didn't we, that day? But the game at Accrington, we dug in. It's just a horrible place to go, isn't it, really? All the stuff with Andy Holt, the memories from last year when Morsey was sent off, of course. And then, you got all the what's it called? The I follow stuff as well with that. Sheffield Wednesday, where do we start with that? I mean, again, how far? I think with Ipswich, I think it's prudent to look at how we did against these teams last season. And, I went to Hillsborough last year where we lost, and we had El Mazzuni and matey boy Backinson in midfield, Dom Thompson left back, and we weren't that good that day, were we? But against Sheffield Wednesday this year, we looked pretty decent, I have to say. Again, I think personally we're unlucky not to go away with all 3 points from Yorkshire. And the Bristol Rovers game, we were brilliant. I mean, I'm surprised we only won 2-0 because the way we started was just, we came flying out the blocks. Joey Barton and his usual stuff. And I thought, we're going to have a hatful this year. And I think we've been saying for a while, we're going to absolutely give somebody a good old thrashing. But, I think 2-0 is a fairly respectable scoreline for the Gas. My best mate is his dad's Bristol Rovers fan, and he's I think he's always had a bit of a soft spot for us, and I think he was grateful that we kept it quite conservative that day, didn't we?
Yeah, we did indeed. And of course, a lot of, some clean sheets were racking up, but we also were conceding goals. That was the first time in the Sheffield Wednesday game where we're like, oh, actually, his defence can concede goals. And yeah, that hurt that one. That did, because I thought we played so well. Kane Jackson scored and was starting up front. I think was a surprise starter. And, for him to score, Dominic Oilfer forgot he doesn't play for us and scored an own goal, of course. But yeah, that one really did hurt. And, the Plymouth game, a long journey. And, annoyingly, as I said at the start, was put on Sky, a Sunday, a long trip. Of course, we'd had to go to Devon on a Saturday afternoon when we went to Exeter as well. So both trip down to Devon, we're both on Sky. That time, of course, we lost, but the Exeter game, which we'll go on to later, we did win. Of course, everyone get involved, share your thoughts. Harry, once again, good to have you, my friend. He said it's the best start to a season I've ever seen in my life. I can imagine you're a very young fan, because I am as well, and it probably is, because we are at that stage. We were still in second in the league, despite the points we were dropping. Of course, Plymouth were riding high at top, but we're still there. And the big thing was, Bono, is can we bounce back after our first defeat? And that is thankfully what we did. Of course, we had a big game up next, which was against Pompey. And this was an opportunity for us to really make a statement, and that's what we did. So let's bring up the results from October. Of course, a 3-2 home win over Pompey, after last year, games against them, Danny Cowley and co doing their antics. This time, though, we got the win, despite throwing it away a few times because we had 2 penalties, although, once again, refereeing and all that sort of jazz. But should we talk about that a little bit more before we get into the other games? Because it was great that we bounced back and have a monkey off the back, beating one of these so-called big sides.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure my age, but I actually remember Ian Dowie talking about bounce back ability back in the day. It was a stern test. I think the Cowleys were giving it large in their local media, weren't they? Which McKenna then went on to talk about, the false love and the fake praise and all that kind of thing, because he was talking about, the money, the players, the infrastructure, saying how good we are, which is actually, a really good kind of reverse psychology thing for his players. I swear to this day, I don't know how either one of those penalties was a penalty that Pompey had. But, Colby Bishop lashed them both home. And I thought, I remember they had a shout for a late third penalty, I think. I can't be too sure. I can't even remember what I did yesterday, to be honest. But yeah, I think it was really important just to pick ourselves up after that narrow Plymouth defeat. And yeah, it was a great day. Did we have some of the Americans over for that game? I think
so. Yeah, I think we did actually. So they must have enjoyed that, seeing us beat a big side, and it was a big crowd. Once again, we haven't mentioned that already. Even from the opening day against Bolton, the crowds have been fantastic, and we're not surprised now because we're a big club in terms of we've got a massive fan base worldwide and everything. We've got Nikolai, and we've got good old Nikolai from New York here. I know he's a Suffolk boy, but he does live in New York now. But we're still, we're global. But yeah. It's great to see, the Americans, they've had some iffy results when they've come over. I know Brett Johnson, his first ever trip. Personally, scored a late winner against Fleetwood. So
yeah, I remember that. I mean, going back to the start of the season, myself and some of the guys from the KOA posse were lucky enough to meet Mark Detmer, Berke Bakai, and Mark Steed at the Greyhound pub. Obviously, other pubs are available, but that's my preferred one in Ipswich. And they kind of just waltzed in after the game and just stood and had a chat and a beer with us for what, ages actually. They gave us the time of day, and what lovely people. Gave us a little peek behind the curtain, which is very, very nice. And it's certainly a day I'll never forget. And I kind of feel bad that we didn't win that day, but there you go. It's not every day you meet the owners of your club, is it?
Yeah, no, it's great. Once again, it just shows how close we can get to the owners, Mark Ashton and co. And I know there's a lot of fans who've been able the opportunity to speak to, say, Kieran McKenna and other people just out and about, so which is good. Let's look at the October fixtures in full then. We started, as I said, with Portsmouth bouncing back. Then we went on winning 3 straight games. After the Pompey game, we beat Cambridge 3-0. Once again, getting another monkey off the back. We didn't beat them at all last year. We drew at their place, and of course we lost 1-0 at Portman Road. But this time we've got a nice 3-0 win. Carl Edwards, cross shot, good goal, Carl Edwards. Of course,
what a goal! What a goal!
Yeah, was it a day he actually finally arrived in a Town shirt? That's what I thought, because Carl Edwards, once again he signed with a lot of praise and everything, and we were like, this is a player that shouldn't be playing League One football, but he just didn't. It didn't happen from last year. He had an injury, of course, but this was the day I felt Carl Edwards is here. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he arrived at the same time as Raheem the Dream Harper, didn't he? And he's kind of been the nearly man, hasn't he? He's been injured. We've seen flashes of excellence. A lot of people talk about his game against Burton last season. I nearly said Buxton. It's not Buxton, it's Burton. And, we've got, probably one of the most skillful players we've ever had. And, that day he was just brilliant, because let's not forget, I think it was up until probably the hour mark, Cambridge were sitting pretty deep. They were being pretty resolute with their defending, and then McKenna changed the system to a 4-2-3-1, brought Kyle Edwards on, and it just changed the game, didn't it? And obviously he scored that goal pretty much right in front of my little bit in the U2 down there in the corner of the Cobbolds. And wow, what a goal. And I think feelings were on top of the world when we left that stadium, weren't we, that night? And, you know, a game under the lights, beating a team that like to give it all that, don't they? Cambridge, bless them. I've got a soft spot for Cambridge. I worked there for a few years. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. But yeah, I was quite happy to beat them. And then obviously, yeah, we went to Morecambe after that, didn't we? Long way away. Everybody got their photos on the seafront with
Morecambe guy, the Morecambe guy. That's what I call him.
Eric. Is it Eric Morecambe?
Eric Morecambe, yeah.
That's it.
Morecambe guy.
That's it.
Chinwag with him before the game.
Yeah. I like that. That was really good.
Yeah, I done a little go in the amusements.
How many takes did that intro take there, Ross?
One, honestly.
No, you've never done one take.
Well, that time, me and Morecambe, Eric knows what we're doing, so one take. So I was pretty happy with that, actually. The other bits did take a few other takes, so yeah, that is what it is. But yeah, it was great. Once again, that was another thing, another landmark moment, beating Morecambe. We didn't beat them at all last year. Both games were draws against them. Of course, their second season in League One, but a 2-1 win. Of course, they took the lead, and I was thinking, oh god, travelled all this way, and we're going to lose.
Yeah,
but thankfully not. We got the job done in the second half. Of course, George Emerson scoring from a set piece, Claxon once again. Of course, Lee Evans scoring from the penalty spot. Connor Chaplin decided to miss the first one. We got two penalties. Penalties, Claxon, by the way. That was great. So yeah, it was just good to beat Morecambe. But then our little winning run ended against Lincoln. Second defeat of the season, 33 shots, 77% possession. Somehow we didn't score. We battered the Imps, but we didn't get the win, Bono.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say where what we have to do differently to beat these teams. You do start to wonder if teams got us figured out, but at the end of the day, if we're that good, we should be beating sides. But I think that day, a lot of us said afterwards we could be playing for kind of another 9 hours. I think they said on the main pod, didn't they? Like a 24-hour game, and we still wouldn't have scored. We would have hit the post, goals cleared off the line. Players, the ball bouncing off a bit of the pitch and it's skewing wide. You know what? It's really, really entertaining at the moment, and sometimes that's football, isn't it? I think sometimes you have to look at it kind of with a little bit of a bit of a grown up sometimes, I think, and just realize that's the way the cookie crumbles, and luck is something that kind of evens itself out over the season, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I want to bring in Maddie quickly. This is going back to the Pompey game, and she says, true story here. Was on the train back from Charlton with the Diamond and got chatting to an EFL ref who was the fourth official at the Pompey game. Even he was surprised that our third goal was ruled for being offside. So there we go. Some little insight there and some behind-the-scenes little nuggets for you. Then, of course, once again, after losing, we did bounce back, Bono, and beaten... I haven't got it up on it. Oh, God. Oh, I was doing so well, everybody.
Derby. We beat Derby. That game that it was a fantastic night, wasn't it? Of course, controversially, in our black kit. I wasn't a fan when the news broke that, hey, we're going to be on TV and we're going to wear our black kit. And I was like, oh, God, really? We're playing blue, history, tradition, blah, blah. But you know what? Looking back, what a great shout. Well done. Our marketing people are absolutely worth their weight in gold at the moment, aren't they? But yeah, that night. And Derby were in a weird kit as well, weren't they? Yeah. That kind of Malbec red. That I did look on the Umbro website to see what that colour was. Yeah, it was a good kit. But yeah, it was, yeah. And again, we've been spoiled with games under the lights. It seems like we've had like 4 times the amount that we would usually have by now. But again, that was a decent evening. We finally won on TV. We got that monkey off our back, and we were like, hey, we've beaten Derby. We could do anything.
Yeah, and Friday nights under the lights, which was became a thing because we had Fleetwood on Friday night, which we'll get on to in a bit. But yeah, winning on Sky Clacks, and the curse is now lifted. The so-called curse. I was calling it a curse because we couldn't win on TV, and we finally did
Yeah.
against Derby. Of course, Wes Burns scoring the winner in that game. Kane Jackson missing from the penalty spot.
Oh yeah.
Dear.
We were all surprised when he stepped up to take that, but all the players were like, "No, go on then. If you want to take it, you can take it." And then, yeah, he missed. He skewed it wide, didn't he?
He did.
I think.
But thankfully, it didn't matter in the end because we didn't eventually hold on and win the game. So happy days. And as I said, once again, bouncing back after a defeat. Then a trip to Port Vale in the Derby game. Sam Morsey got a yellow card, so he was suspended for this one. There was a lot of talk. Oh, God, how are we going to get on? Of course, taking on a Port Vale side, Looney promoted.
Yeah, in good form. Robbie Williams.
Yeah, Robbie Williams, all that.
All that.
But there was no problem in the end. Although we did once again have to battle winning 3-2. Ladapo with a brace, and then Cameron Humphreys introduced himself as a superstar, a young player, scoring a very good goal. My first ever trip to Vale Park, and I didn't mind actually. I actually enjoyed myself at Vale Park. It wasn't too bad. There's a lot of rooms. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I missed out on that. I'm sure, was that game moved from a Saturday to a Tuesday night? I can't remember.
No, I don't think so. I think the Cambridge game was because that was supposed to be because of course the Queen unfortunately died.
Yes,
and that got moved.
That's it.
But yeah, Port Vale was always going to be a Tuesday night, and I think anyway. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's correct. I think so. But yeah, it's a shame. I'm sure we would have probably took more if it was a Saturday, but on a Tuesday night it can be tricky. But we got the win there. Happy days. And then Bono, we'll try our best not to talk about it as long as possible, but we've got to mention it because it is the big result of October. The Charlton 4-4 draw at Vale.
Wow.
Now, it was Valley Park. What was that? The Valley. It's not even a thing. Of course, it was a different game to the previous time. Of course, that was a horrendous evening in the capital. But this time, it was an absolute freak result. 2-2 going into the 90th minute. At a time, 10 minutes. We made it 3-2, then 4-2. And we thought, here we go, happy days, job done. Oh, no. 4-3, 4-4. No words.
I mean, I think we are literally getting all of the entertainment and excitement and ups and downs that we kind of missed out on during the dark days of the Championship, squeezed into like 4 or 5 months at the start of this season, aren't we? I can't remember a season like it, you know. And yeah, obviously Ed Sheeran watching on. Friend of a friend was with him in the box that day, and just wow. You know, like a lot of people have said, I don't think we'll ever see another game of football involving Ipswich Town like it again. And you know, if we ever do, I hope we win 5-4 or 6-5 because that would just be amazing, won't it? But yeah, how we didn't win that day. It's just a freak thing. I mean, I'm not one for blaming players, but you know, Charlton wanted it, didn't they? And of course their manager getting sent off, which I have to say I called out pretty early on. So I didn't go.
Well, he's been sacked,
he's gone because Charlton's owner is an interesting person, let's say. Yeah. Obviously we're live and it's a family show. But yeah, he was going crackers all game. I
want to bring in Matt Johnson, who's done a comment and talking about a certain player. Of course, Christian Walton was in goal, and he's put Walton had his worst game for us that Charlton game. But ultimately, forgive him because how good he has been, and he is. You know, he's a great goalie. But just on that day, it's just one of those days where, like, one of the goals, I think he just misjudged the ball going into the net, and once again, this season, we have conceded more goals than we did last year. You know, under McKenna, we were the clean sheet kings. You know, every game we're getting clean sheets. I think weren't to that record of like 400 plus minutes without conceding or stuff like that. And this year we have conceded, like, you think in October, we've conceded a lot of goals. You know, 2 goals against Pompey, 1 against Morecambe. Then, of course, the Lincoln game, you know, their goal was not great that they scored. And then, of course, 2 goals against Port Vale and then 4 against Charlton. But yeah, Walton is still a top goalkeeper, isn't he? And of course, we didn't even mention the Plymouth game him nearly scoring in that game, which would have been unbelievable in the last minute, score an equaliser against a team I think grew up supporting. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Bolton he's been great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've conceded a few more than we would have liked, but I think we're scoring a lot more as well. And our possession and our shots and everything else like that. And yet people are still saying we need a 20-goal a season striker. Come on, it's goals from all over the pitch, people.
Yeah, well, I was going to bring it up later, but I'm quickly looking at the goal scorers this season. We've had 14 different goal scorers, which is good. We'll cover that more in basis in a minute. Because I want to go through. We're also going to do our player of the season so far. So get involved in the comments, share your player of the season so far, and we'll see who gets the most votes, and we can say they are the player of the season so far. I also want to bring in good old Ollie here, Ollie M, bringing up Derby's kit, as you mentioned. And it did look like a Sunday League kit because they didn't have a sponsor, did they? And it was very mismatched. They could have probably played in a home kit, really, couldn't they, if they really wanted to? Because it wouldn't have clashed with our black kit.
I would have liked them to have... Yeah, I would have liked them to have played in all white. Yeah. Michael Barrymore, all white.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, to be fair. I'll just nod in my head.
Oh, showing your age. Always. Yeah, I actually think the black kit clashed with their claret kit, and I actually think our kit, our blue kit, clashed with the Plymouth home kit.
It did,
it did. It was really. I watched it on TV, the Plymouth one, and it was quite hard at times to make out who was who, particularly as we were both in white shorts as well. But hey ho, first world problems.
Yeah, that's probably why we lost. There we go. The players didn't know.
We'll blame on that.
We'll blame on that. That's why we lost against Plymouth. I also want to bring in Maddie once again. Always good to get as many comments as possible. Get involved, everybody. We want to hear your thoughts. And Maddie has brought up the Charlton game. We're going to mention it one more time before we're moving on until November.
Let's put that one to bed.
November was the cup month, but we'll cover the other games as well. But yeah, Maddie said her game 2 ambassador for Charlton sent me the limbs from the Charlton end. She actually fell down a row or something crazy like that. Still numb when Charlton ever mentioned. Yeah, I think every time we mention Charlton, when we play them back at Bourton Road, I'm sure that game will be, you just get those memories of just those scenes because it was amazing scenes. I was, in the front row of taking pictures and got some lovely celebrations, and then seeing the fans in such just joy and just seeing people that I know just so happy. We were 4-2, and then looking back at them at 4-4, and I was like, I think they were just in disbelief. I think no one moved for like a good 5-10 minutes because I just didn't know what was going on. But let's move on, Bono, because it's happened.
Yeah, I've changed my cap again as well. I can't. Oh. Yeah, sorry.
What's going to change?
It's my Phoenix Rising cap. Can you see that?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Blacked out. Very good. Shout out to the 25 people joining us. Thanks for joining us. Share it to all your friends and family. Get them involved. This is where you want to be on your Tuesday evening. But if you are watching this again later on a Wednesday, Thursday, as I said, Christmas Day, hope you're doing well. Hope you're in a good Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Even like right now, hope everyone is going to have a good Merry Christmas. Let's get into November then, Bono. And it was a cup month. Of course, we had a trip to Bracknell Town, which was very, very strange, but it was very cool. Of course, we also played Buxton. Tommy Miller's Buxton. They've had a lot of changes. Tommy Miller's not even there anymore. Isn't because they lost in the FA Cup. I think they just a lot of changes. But yeah, let's talk mainly though about the league games. Of course, a 1-1 draw with Cheltenham. And of course, beating Exeter. A long trip down to Devon on Sky once again, beating them 2-0. Thoughts on those two games, my friend?
Cheltenham. I still shudder when I think about Cheltenham last season. Did we not play? Was it not like exactly the same game, like holographically beamed out onto the pitch? So last season I watched it. I was behind the goal in the north stand, lower, and I was with Dan Botton, good old Dan from KOA Posse. Hey Dan, and we absolutely battered them, didn't we? And they scraped a 1-1 draw, and it's like, oh geez, it ain't happening. And it was the same this time, wasn't it? Be interesting to see the stats again. I think that was another 60% plus, 20 plus goals, 8 or 9 corners. It's like those freak football manager days where you lose 1-0 or draw 1-1, and they've had one shot and their keeper gets man of the match. and it's
I've
a
got the
keeper that.
stats. I've
Go
got
on,
the stats,
let's
and it's
see
not
him.
great. Well, then it's not great on target. So we had 31 shots, but only
Right.
4 on target. We had 75% possession. We had 15 corners, so our set pieces should have been on target there. But yeah,
75%. I mean,
yeah.
I've always been a bit meh about stats because, where do you stop looking at figures? Where does it start and where does it end? Because this football is just it's so much more fluid, isn't it, than just percentages. But we had the ball for 3/4 of that game, didn't we? But I think it's all with it's all to do with what you do with it, obviously. But yeah, I think sometimes our game is a little bit predictable, isn't it? The patterns of play, and if I can recognise it, then obviously I'm not a professional statistician or a technical coach. It's players are going to know how we play. So, but we'll come on to that in a bit.
Definitely. Of course, we scored an early goal in that game. Of course, Luke Wolforden just became a father, and for him to score, and I thought this could be the day where we do actually batter a team.
Yeah.
Of course, it wasn't the case, unfortunately. And then, of course, the only other game that month, of course, was the Exeter game. Of course, 2-0 win. Another win on Sky, as we said. Job done. Good performance. Good goal.
Really good. Really good. My boy Ladapo.
Yeah. And that was a time where you're looking back at the stats. Actually, Ladapo's now scored a good amount of goals.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just a good win against a good Exeter side because they were up there. They were in top 10. They just lost their manager who went to Rotherham. So yeah, good job done. Let's get into December then, but I have some more comments on the player of the season. And it's Edits FC who's actually asked us for our player of the season, which we'll get to shortly. There's a lot of shouts to Leif Davis for the obvious reasons. We'll get onto that very shortly. But let's quickly go into December, which for all the results you can get in football, that is what we got in December. We got a draw, a win, and a defeat. Of course, a 1-1 draw with Fleetwood. Last minute bloody equaliser. It was my fault, as I said on the podcast. I basically got up and moved to where Fleetwood was shooting, and yeah, you know the story. It's all my fault. I'm sorry, everybody. But yeah, 1-1 draw at Fleetwood. Then we did bounce back though and got a good win against the Posh. 2-1 win there at Portland Road, of course. And then I've just gone Saturday, losing 1-0 against Wickham. Shouldn't have lost that. But yeah, 3 very different results there, Bono.
It's interesting, isn't it? When we lose, it's not because we play badly. I think it's just because we're so used to the bar has been set so high and the standard is so much better than a lot of us can remember. Even people like me that were around, when we were in the Premier League the first time and the playoff season and stuff like that. We play some really scintillating, or often breathless stuff at times, don't we? But if we're not on point, if players don't have their A game, then we just don't cut it, sadly. And yeah, the Wickham game, the Fleetwood game as well, we're just unlucky. Sometimes, like I said earlier, sometimes you just got to say, look, we didn't win. That's that. Let's move on. We don't need to spend hours and hours analysing it because sometimes there's just things that you just can't legislate for. So
it's our job here at Kings of Anglia to analyse it, but sometimes.
But not for hours and hours, though, Ross. Not for hours and hours. No.
Do a podcast, do a few little videos here and there. Do game day, share your thoughts, your emotions. But as you said, don't just spend hours and hours and hours on why we lost the game. It's just one of those things. Sadly, we didn't become Christmas number 1. We weren't top of the Christmas tree, but what a difference a year makes. To think we were, 12th in League One, just been knocked out by Barrow. Of course, Kieran McKenna, 50 games now, 1 year at the football club. Sally's 1 year anniversary ended in the Wickham defeat, and then of course his 50th game was, I think, the Fleetwood draw. So not a great way to end those sort of landmark moments, but so much has changed, hasn't it, Bono? In that year, because you went to Barrow. Salute to everyone who went to Barrow / Bono, because that was a bad evening watching.
18-hour day that day, wasn't it? Free bus ride, thanks Ipswich. I think there was about 238 of us that were mad enough to go to Cumbria, where the submarines are built. Yeah. Never again. I took my Christopher Walken cut out though. That was funny.
Did you leave it there?
No, no, he's upstairs in the
Fair,
office.
actually, didn't want to leave Christopher there. Don't know. Shouldn't that'd been horrible from you if you left him there. He's like, oh, sorry, Christopher, I'm leaving you here. But no, you brought him back. That was good. But yeah, so much has changed. We've got some other great comments. Ollie, once again, obviously a lot of progress to make, but so much potential in him in terms of McKenna. Nikolai basically said Christmas number one's overrated. Of course, nowadays, yeah, it's not really, no one cares about Christmas number ones. No one really cares about the charts nowadays, which is a shame. So I know back in the day, you look forward to see who's going to be in the top 10, but is what it is. Let's do it then, Bono. Let's talk about player of the season so far. A few contenders definitely up there. I'm going to just chuck out some of the questions, answers from everybody. Get involved if you haven't already. Share your thoughts on player of the season so far, and maybe even just some players who you think are unsung heroes, or maybe players like Cameron Humphreys or Janoy Donashin, who's always a consistent performer. But Harry's gone with Leif Davis because how he's grown as a brilliant player since his debut against Bolton. Nikolai, of course, has also said Leif Davis because once again, then Edits has said Leif Davis, obviously. So much. He's mature. Because, yeah, I'm sure he has matured. He's still a young lad, if you think about it. He signed for a good fee. And for him to really, step up and really improve, fair play to the lad. Ollie, again, Leif Davis, he's won the award, really, and he'd won, I think, probably. But maybe we can mix up a little bit. Maybe we'll add our other little contenders. But, yeah, Ollie said, hard to argue with Leif Davis, as people have said. But it's been so great watching Humphreys making the big step up into a starting 11 at his age. Yeah, because once again, such a young lad. But Bono, shall we talk about some other players, some other contenders? I'm going to put out there right now on a live video. I love Sam Morsy. Honestly, especially against Wickham, even though we lost the game, he was on the losing side. I just was watching him play and I just love watching him play. If I was a 10-year-old kid, I would just want to be Sam Morsy in the playground. I just love watching him play. But yeah, he's up there at the moment for my player of the season so far with Leif Davis. But yeah, any other players you want to mention?
Connor Chaplin.
Yes, 10 goals for him.
I think it's been fantastic. And I think Lee Evans as well. I think we mentioned Cameron Humphreys, didn't we? The way that he stepped into the fold, especially with Don Ball and Pan Camera being injured as well. But at the start of the season that Lee Evans had, he did not look like a League One player. He looked top Championship, even Premiership player. Some of the balls, some of the runs. He's such an intelligent player, such a character as well to have around. Our dressing room is full of really, really decent young men, which is I think part of our running towards adversity ethos that we've all bought into, is kind of cheesy as some people have found it. But yeah, I think, think back, I said to you earlier, Ross, didn't I? Think back a few seasons ago, we were struggling for a player of the year because everybody was just completely off it. But, we're struggling to whittle it down to 4 contenders for player of the season so far. But, I think if you were to do honourable mentions, you'd end up mentioning about 10 other people, wouldn't you? The fact that we've had 14 different goal scorers as well. But we're just solid all over the pitch and in reserve. And the fact that McKenna doesn't have a first starting 11, he changes it, depending on who the opposition is. But yeah, for me, Chaplin, Evans, Morsy. Personally, if anybody cares what I think, player of the season so far, Leif Davis. What a player. What a player we have. He's up and down that left-hand side. He's doing about 3 people's job on that left-hand side. And I don't think we've seen anything yet. And he's done really, really well, considering Greg Lee has had those injuries as well. Last year, our right-hand side with JD and Wesley Burns was just on fire, weren't we, down that right-hand side? And the left-hand side was a bit of a weak point. If anything, our left-hand side this year is stronger than our right-hand side was last year, I think. So yeah, obviously this season is going to end, but it's just so good, isn't it? That left-hand side is just brilliant. So well done, Leif Davis. You've got the Bono mark of excellence.
Well, he will get. Yeah, we are now going to award Leif Davis the Player of the Season so far award on our review show. So congratulations, Leif. If any of these people are watching, or if Leif's watching, congratulations, my friend. Well deserved. And as you said, the left side has massively improved from last year. Of course, we were struggling that side, but now this year it's all about the left. Of course, Wes Burns, had a great season last year. Maybe not been hit the heights, but sometimes after one season, you get hyped up a little bit too much, and he's still got 6 assists, I think, or no, 6 goals, 3 assists. But yeah, Leif Davis has been fantastic. Want to mention Harry once again, mentioning Lee Evans. Once again, you mentioned Lee Evans about being up there as a contender. He has actually missed half this season as well because he had that injury, of course, recently returned. But yeah, he started so well, scored a few goals as well. Maddie has mentioned it's scary that Humphreys is 1 year older than Maddie. Of course, Connor Chaplin's been outstanding. For such a small man, he gets involved, doesn't he? And once again, he's been more of I wouldn't say a bit part player, but he had to come off the bench a few times, and he Connor Chaplin, and he still scored 10 goals, our top goal scorer this season so far in all competitions. But yeah, some other names to mention, like Christian Walton, despite maybe having a few iffy games, still a top-class keeper. John Jules, once again, injuries. That's what always happens, Bono. At the wrong time, players get injuries. Like Lee Evans, as we said, got an injury at the wrong time. Dominic Ball coming into the squad, then gets injured. Even Greg Lee was, that was a great substitution, wasn't it? Coming on for Leif Davis in the 70th minute, bring on Greg Lee, and then he gets that injury. It's just,
It's Ipswich for you, isn't it? I mean, I watched a video that the club put out today, The Switch, with Alfie Indra, Freddie Ladapo in his absolutely sumptuous brown velour tracksuit that, I think Mark Beck and I are both going to go out and buy one, aren't we? And Tyrese John Jules. It's like, I completely forgot about that guy. But he's magical. So let's get him back. I don't think anybody really knows if he's going to be back like next week. But hey, TB12 and all the sports nutrition, sports science stuff, I bet he starts on Boxing Day.
Yeah.
We've seen Aluko come back. We've seen Evans come back. Just wonderful, isn't it? This would not have happened in days gone by, would it?
Yeah, definitely. And of course, Marcus Harness. I was about to say Marcus Evans there because I know that's what Andy and Stu
said. Yeah.
In the Andy and Stu react, and we don't want to see him back. Definitely not. But yeah, Marcus Harness. Once again had a fantastic start of the season. Had a few little inconsistent performances, but still a really quality player at this level. But yeah, great to have him back. And as I said, getting those injuries. Shawnee Aluko. What a player he is. I put him down as the MVP this season. And he gets bloody injured, but now he's back. played the full 90 minutes in the Peterborough game. Or no, not the full 90 minutes. Started and played 70 minutes. But yeah, so many different players we can just talk about because it's just they've all been great, which is fantastic. Going to bring in very, very untouched here by Harry. Thanks for joining us, my friend. I really enjoyed all the content you produced over this year, Ross, and the rest of the KOA Army, Bono included. Hope you all have a good Christmas and maybe see you at Boxing Day versus Oxford. Harry, if you're about, my friend, get involved. We want to hear more voices. Definitely 2023, more live shows, more new KOA Army members, new faces and all that sort of stuff. Bono, it's been one hell of a year in terms of Ipswich Town content and just, we've got a great little group here at KOA talking about the club we love. We met during lockdown and yeah, it's been great, man.
Yeah, it's been awesome, hasn't it? So when we met, I was Matt, and now I'm Bono, all because of that little tiny bit of the kobold, which I help populate on a match day. It's a great place to watch the game. To be fair, atmosphere is absolutely brilliant, even when there is people in the box behind me. So yeah, it's been a cracking year, and let's hope it rolls on.
Definitely, my friend. Well, I think we're going to call it here then, everybody. It's been one hell of a show. Bono, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Hope you've enjoyed all the content this year. Of course, it doesn't stop here. We've still got Oxford on Boxing Day, Portsmouth away. There's going to be different podcasts, different other content. We're also going to be doing a quiz at some stage, so stay tuned for that. It may be happening next week at some stage. I won't put a date on it just in case it doesn't happen. But yeah, look forward to it. People can battle head to head to see if they can remember all the games this year. But no, thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I think we got the highest of 30 people, but hopefully you enjoy these lives throughout. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas, and I'm sure I'll speak to you before the new year. So no Happy New Year just yet. until I say it in person to everybody. But anyway, thanks again for watching. Bye-bye for now. And last here, Nikolai saying Merry Christmas to everyone. So that's the way we're going to end it. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye for now.